Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. And I want to mostly talk in this video about the DUP. They finally rejected May's deal again, and they've got some justification for that, which I'm going to go through. But before I do that, just a little look at something that I saw in a tweet. And it's from a journalist on the Times. And they were writing something about having seen some cabinet minutes from yesterday. So going from the DUP to another party that is, of course, putting party before country. And what this says, I'm going to read this little extract here. So it says here, I'm told that the minutes of the cabinet meeting. Now, when you have a cabinet meeting, by the way, so the minutes of the cabinet, there's two types. There's cabinet meeting, as in members of the government, at which the cabinet secretary will be present and make notes, and there will be minutes written up. That's where they're supposed to be discussing government business. But of course, these people are all politicians in a political party as well. So sometimes they will meet as a cabinet, but it's on party matters where civil servants won't be present because they're talking about party matters. And those, of course, won't be minuted, or if they are minuted, they won't be minuted by officials. So this was a cabinet meeting where the cabinet secretary was present, just to bear that in mind. And what they're saying is, I'm told that the minutes of the cabinet meeting contain at least 5 references to the Tories' narrow political concerns. According to the official account written by Sir Mark Sedwill, the cabinet secretary, ministers discussed how the government is committed to delivering Brexit. Not to do so would be damaging to the Conservative Party. This is them discussing government business where they're supposed to be concerned with the welfare of the nation, not their party, remember. And it says, in a clear sign of the political nature of the discussion chaired by the Prime Minister, the minutes end with the words, the Conservative Party wants to stay in government and get councillors elected. The arguments in Parliament could jeopardise that. So, as if we needed any more evidence, what's coming out of this is that they are using government time when they're supposed to be running the government, to discuss party matters, to discuss how decisions they make will impact on the party and not at all the country. I mean, we knew this anyway, but that was that's stunning. That for that actually to be leaked out as well. But anyway, so let's recap where we are in terms of Theresa May's withdrawal agreement. I talked earlier on about the various scenarios and how they are very likely to lead to a general election no matter what happens. So tomorrow, that is Wednesday, depending on when you're watching this, Theresa May is going to speak to the 1922 committee. That is a committee comprised of Conservative MPs. And that can only be about stepping down. There is no other reason for her to schedule a time, 5 o'clock tomorrow evening, UK time, to deliver that talk, whatever it's on. It's her stepping down. But the thing is, there's been a lot of talk this weekend. Remember, she got a load of Brexiteers round at Chequers to discuss things. Insiders, papers have been reporting on the fact that she's been asked to step down, and if she agrees to step down, they'll back her deal. Jacob Rees-Mogg has now said that publicly, that he will back her deal if she goes. He doesn't want her involved in the next process. He's also talked about the fact that, you know, he intends that the UK would renege on the backstop as well, even if we agree to it, re-ratify it. But the thing is, if the DUP don't support her deal, what value is the price of some more MPs back in? And Jacob Rees-Mogg, of course, influential member of those Brexiteers, the chairman of the European Research Group, which is the Brexiteer party within a party within the Conservative Party. And he could well take a lot of them with him, but there still seem to be many others, or at least enough others, that wouldn't. So she, even though she can count on some support from the opposition's benches, it's only a modicum of it. Without the DUP, she's really snookered. As illustrated by the fact that she spent a lot of time trying to negotiate with them last week. She spent many days negotiating with them. So, you know, back to Fairyland where the DUP live. And they said they'd rather have a long extension. They said that they would see no situation under which where they would vote for May's deal without the backstop being removed. They said they'd rather have a long extension because they said even then, you know, at the end of it, we'd still have the right to unilaterally withdraw from the EU. Whereas if we sign up to the backstop, it's like being locked into the EU forever, which in a way it sort of is, I suppose, until Ireland reunifies, and they desperately don't want that. But I would have thought, if you think about what they want, which is for the Northern Ireland to remain within the United Kingdom, if you think about the options, so yeah, I can sort of see how May's deal isn't going to help that. I can certainly see how staying in the EU would, though, because then we certainly have Northern Ireland having the same terms, conditions, rules, everything else as the rest of the UK. A no deal, which is actually their preferred option, seems to me to be a bit baffling, because in the event of a no deal, then the border issue becomes a serious issue, and the UK would definitely have to at least make an agreement for that border, which effectively would be the backstop under a different name. You know, well, it would still be called a backstop, but the same arrangements that we would have, they just wouldn't apply elsewhere. Now, obviously May's deal's not given what they want, so that's why they're going to vote against it. But yeah, the fact that they would go with no deal as their preferred option. Now, they wrote in the Telegraph, I've just been reading the article. Now, mostly, of course, it's all moaning about the EU and how, you know, the usual Brexiteer stuff about it, you know, the shackles of Brussels and draconian measures and all the rest of it. But then they got onto the border issue. So what they said here is, finally, the announcement of the details of the no-deal Brexit arrangement by the Irish Republic at the weekend, when they confirmed that they can deal with Irish border trade without any need for one stick of infrastructure along the border, is the final proof that the exit deal is based on one big con job. The Irish border was never an issue. It was used to secure a leaving arrangement which would dictate the restrictive terms of the UK's future relationship with the EU. Except that's not true. The Republic of Ireland have not said that they don't need infrastructure at the border. They are desperately trying to avoid it, but what they've actually said is, well, this is what the EU have said, because remember, Ireland can't make, this is what we've already been told, and this is what everyone accepts, we don't make unilateral agreements between different nations. While noting that the UK is a co-guarantor of the Good Friday Agreement, although I wouldn't consider the current government much of a guarantor, and would, in a no-deal scenario, have to respect World Trade Organization rules, the official said that in a no-deal scenario, both the UK and Ireland will need to take unilateral and temporary measures to protect legitimate trade, consumer and public health. We would again expect the UK to live up to its commitment to avoid a hard border while protecting Ireland's place in the internal market. All right. Now, when they were asked specifically about physical infrastructure on the Irish border, what they said was extra controls will be needed. Now, they did say we're working very close with the Irish authorities to try and perform the controls away from the border, but they did not say that they would be able to do it. And indeed, no one has come up with a credible plan to do that either. So they're lying about that. They're taking the statement, we want to try and avoid any infrastructure at the border, to, oh, we can totally do this without any infrastructure at the border. Not what they're saying. So again, just lying about the situation. Usual nonsense. The bottom line is they were never going to vote for it in the first place. You might wonder what those days and days of negotiations for. Well, it was largely on the part of Theresa May. She was the one who was desperate to get their support. They were just going along with it because back in Northern Ireland, the majority of Northern Ireland, even the part of Northern Ireland that are unionists, are not. It's always a strange term, that though, isn't it? Because when you think unionist, you would think you're talking about uniting Ireland, don't you? But they don't mean that. They mean keeping it divided. So, unionist, people who want to remain within the union of the United Kingdom is what it actually means. And even their population are none too impressed because they would rather, even though most people in Northern Ireland did not vote for Brexit, they would rather have the withdrawal agreement, which at least gives them certainty over the future. Certainty over the future. And so they had to be seen, is what I get from viewers who've sent me the view from Northern Ireland. They had to be seen to be doing something, so they've gone in for the talks and all the rest of it. Probably just killing time until they could think of some way of not backing it, because they never were going to, and justify it. And so what they've decided to say is to everyone, look, the Republic of Ireland says we can totally do this without any infrastructure at the border. You're all worrying about nothing. No, they haven't said that. In fact, they're quite worried about it. In fact, they have not actually announced what their the EU have announced an awful lot of plans to deal with a no-deal Brexit. The ones they have not been able to reveal as yet, even as I've even looked this up today, are what they are going to do about the border. It's sticky from both the point of view of the UK and the Republic of Ireland, because the simple fact of the matter is a no-deal Brexit is not at all legal. It's certainly not. It doesn't comply with the Good Friday Agreement. But as I've already said, and I already noted in a video on Saturday, the legislation in the UK, we don't just have the Northern Ireland Act, which is what implements the Good Friday Agreement. We have another act called the European Union Withdrawal Act, which also prohibits us not just placing any infrastructure at the border, but even facilitating it. That means creating conditions whereby someone has to, and or allowing, for example, something like that to happen. So we break two of our own laws if we actually go out with no deal. But the DUP don't care about that. They don't see that. They just need excuses. So they're not going to vote for it. So the numbers really are back to, even if every single Tory MP votes for it, and if all the people that voted for it last time in the opposition to vote for it, she will sneak it through with one vote. Technically, from that point of view, she doesn't need the DUP. But if any Conservative MPs vote against it, then she needs opposition MPs that didn't vote for it last time to suddenly vote for it. Well, where are they going to come from? I can't speak for all of the other independents, but given that many of the other independents are former Labour MPs, they're not going to do it. Given that some other ones are not in favour of May's deal at all and would rather have a second referendum, which is possible if they don't back her deal. Then you've got the Lib Dems, they're not going to back it. SNP are not going to back it. Labour officially are not going to back it. There were three Labour MPs that did, but they were rebelling. Would there be any more rebels? I can't say that there wouldn't be. But I do believe that there will be more Tory rebels than Labour rebels. And that's what snookers Theresa May. So she may be, tomorrow, offering to resign if MPs will back her deal without getting her deal through. But maybe then she would consider it still best to resign anyway, because at the end of the day, she knows that whatever comes next is a complete and utter disaster for her party. She can't do anything that helps her party from that point on, and so she'll probably just wash her whole hands of it. And although I don't view her as wanting to just get out of the blame for the destruction of her party, I think she very genuinely wants to keep her party together. She very genuinely has a great deal of loyalty to it, more loyalty to her party than she does to the country. Of course, that's evident. I think she genuinely does have a lot of loyalty to her party, which I don't say in an endearing way. But she must surely feel now that if her agreement doesn't go through, then it's all screwed anyway. So that's the situation. She's going to be scrabbling. If Jacob Rees-Mogg pulls a miracle and actually gets a load of Brexiteers behind him, it may be closer, and she may be deluded enough to think that she can go for another fourth one. Depends on the terms of what she says yesterday. She may say she's stepping down with immediate effect, someone else is in charge. She's more likely to say, I will step down if my agreement passes. I will step down the day after my withdrawal agreement is ratified by this Parliament. In which case it's open-ended, because if it doesn't get ratified, she doesn't go. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe for further content, click the bell notification as well, because apart from anything else, I am certain to be doing a video on what she actually did say to the 1922 committee tomorrow, as well as videos on the indicative votes that are going on later on that evening. Until next time, I'll see you later.